Hello, Internet. My name is Mr. Autism, and today I want to talk a little bit about patience. You see, patience is pretty hard for me, and I can also be pretty hard to be patient with. Patience is a virtue, and for some reason, it's a virtue that's difficult to grasp, difficult to execute in person or in reality. This morning, my wife told me after I had spent some time out of the bedroom. And okay, so I think I need to give some context. My son likes to sleep in the bed with us at night. He has bad anxiety at night. And even though we have his own mattress in our room for him to sleep on, which he can last like up to 4 or 5 hours, he still comes out and comes into bed with us. Anxiety. We both understand because both of us, my wife and I, have an anxiety disorder. I'm just trying to get my mustache hair out of my nose. And sometimes our son wets himself in our bed. And that's what happened this morning. He wet himself in our bed. And my wife told me that so that I could change the bed or change the sheets in the bed. And I snapped. I didn't snap in a violent way, and I should probably give more context. One of the things I'm trying to change with when it comes to what I do with my wife is being more service oriented. I've developed this really bad habit of being very negative when it comes to my wife asking me to help her out with stuff. Now, my wife is in a wheelchair. She has cerebral palsy. That's just a few of the things she has. And like I said earlier, she has an anxiety disorder. And along with the other disorders and physical health issues she has, it makes it difficult for her to do things around the house. And she physically can't change the bed sheets. So there's a lot of times where she asks me to help her out with stuff. Now, sometimes she asks too much, and she's working on it. And today was one of those days where it just caught up with me because when she asked me to do stuff, and my natural, because I have a temper, and my natural reaction is to be angry, I recite a scripture in my head. And the scripture is, if you are only when ye are in the service of your fellow beings, ye are only in the service of your God. So that normally works in helping me stay focused on just being more positive and not being as judgmental or aggressive or angry or frustrated at my wife. And I felt like it caught up with me today because the first reaction I had was to feel that anger and that frustration hit me. But then instead of me having the opportunity to recite the scripture, my brain just, it's like it snapped into a survival mode. I couldn't talk. I was visibly and obviously moving slower than normal. I recognized immediately that something was wrong, so I left the room. I went into the room across the hallway from ours where I have a recliner where I can sit and rest and sometimes sleep. And I spent a good amount of time there. My wife texted me, which is because this isn't the first time I've had a moment where I've been quiet. Like, I do have legitimate autism. This mask isn't just a cute mask or a gimmick. I have autism, high functioning autism. And there's moments where I get nonverbal from too much information overload or autistic burnout. But today, it was neither of those. I just had a mental break or a psychotic break. Now, I've experienced a few of those before in my life. The last one I had, I ended up in the hospital. But there was a bunch of other different reasons behind that. This one was not as dramatic. The thing that my wife and I have, based off of my previous history of being nonverbal, is whenever I go somewhere, I text her. Because even if I can't speak, I can text, which is good because then we can still communicate. And took a while for me to text her because it just felt like my brain was shutting down to protect itself from the trauma. And when I say trauma, I mean the trauma of fighting against itself, reciting the scripture to fight against the frustration and the anger and the judgmentism, or whatever you want to call it, being judgmental. So my wife had to practice a lot of patience with me today. And I'm ashamed to say that I did not practice good patience with her, because she really did a good job with taking care of our son, in spite of all of her limitations. And I felt like she wasn't doing a good job, and I voiced my concerns, because I feel like I can't achieve full success or reach my full potential because my wife and my father-in-law, who we live with, this is his house, I just feel like they can't take care of our son the way that I can. Now that's judgmental. And I voiced my concerns to my wife after I became verbal again this morning. And my wife got defensive, and rightfully so. And one of the things that we've been working on in therapy, well, personal therapy for me and marriage counseling for us, is whenever it's just walking away when a situation isn't going to work out well. So in this case, with her being just self-defensive, I just left. Then she followed me after giving me a couple minutes and then apologized, and she wanted me to explain where she was coming from so I could understand where she was coming from. And the way I was saying things did sound like I was being judgmental of her and critical of her, even though she did a good job in taking care of our son while I was recovering. She practiced patience with me when I was recovering from my psychotic break, but I was not practicing patience with her. Now, regardless of that, I can practice patience with myself by forgiving myself and just listening to her. And I did listen to her, and I did see where she was coming from, and I do understand where she's coming from now. And we both talked about it. We talked it through, which is a big improvement from before. And it's getting better. So even though I struggle with patience, I can still get better. And that's part of being patient with myself. And try again with being patient towards my wife. So the message today is, if you're not patient with someone, try again. Be patient with yourself and try again. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.